when I was 18. Simple sentence, right? But in German, this one sentence can be als ich 18 war or wenn ich 18 war. And if you choose the wrong one, your sentence sounds completely off. And this is exactly where most German learners struggle, because English, there's only one word, when. But in German, we have two brains, als, when. And today, I'm going to rewire yours. So after this video, you won't guess anymore, you'll just know which one to use. So welcome back to my channel Deutschflix, where when versus als stop being a guessing game. Sind Sie bereit? Are you ready? Los geht's. Nebensätze mit als. Let's quickly recall all the connectors which we already know, which form Nebensätze, which means subordinate or dependent clause. So they depend on the main clause. So firstly, we started off with weil, which means because. Then we discussed das, which means that. And our third connector was when, which means when or if. And now we are discussing als, which is very similar to when. It means when. Now the question is, how do I differentiate between als and wenn in German? Because they both mean when in English. So we use als for any event that occurred only once in the past. That means we cannot use this connector for present and future purpose. I'll give you an example, but before that, let's quickly write down this. So that's how als is different from when. In case of when, we use it for our repeated or recursive events, right? We already discussed it in a separate video, and we can use when in all the tenses. But here, in case of als, for an event that occurred only once in the past, and we cannot use als for present and future tense. Now let's discuss what all events happened only once in the past. Let's say when I was 18 years old. Now this sentence, this has occurred only once in my life. Now I can never be 18 years old again. So this happened only one time. Or when I was in the school. Now that I'm in an office, I cannot go back to my school days. Or when I was a child. So even in this sentence, this is like one time event that happened to me. Now I can never be a child again. Or when I visited Berlin for the first time. So this sentence also is one time event that occurred to me in the past. So for all these sentences, I cannot use the word or the connector when. I have to go with als, and als forms Nebensätze, and the golden rule for Nebensätze is that I have to put my conjugated verb at the end. So let me write all the example sentences. As you can see, I'm using als, so my conjugated verb is at the end because this forms Nebensätze. So don't worry about the sentence not being completed here. We can complete it. But what I wanted to teach you is how to identify an event that occurred only once in the past. So these are the classic examples to understand this topic better. So I've written these sentences on the next page as well, and we're gonna complete these sentences. Als ich 18 Jahre alt war, when I was 18 years old, I got my driving license. Habe ich meinen Führerschein bekommen. I got my driving license. Now, why am I having the verb here and then the subject? Why not ich habe, like opposite? Because whenever we put any connector at the beginning, we follow verb comma verb rule, which we also discussed during while, does, when. So here also we are following verb comma verb rule. You can also twist this sentence and say ich habe meinen Führerschein bekommen, als ich 18 Jahre alt war. So let me also write this possibility. So what you need to keep in mind is that if you're using als, you have to put your conjugated verb at the end. Next sentence, als ich ein Kind war, when I was a child. So let's say I learned swimming. Habe ich schwimmen gelernt. You can clearly see that I'm using past tense, no present tense, no future tense. Everything is in the past. Then we have als ich in der Schule war, when I was in the school. Let's say I got to know my girlfriend. Habe ich meine Freundin kennengelernt. Now you can pause the video and you have to twist your sentence and write it like this. Basically, this sentence should come first before this. If you get confused, then maybe you can take a look at this sentence. You can check your answers with me. Ich habe schwimmen gelernt, als ich ein Kind war. Or ich habe meine Freundin kennengelernt, als ich in der Schule war. Now we'll take one situation to understand both als and when. Okay. So situation is same that I went to my grandparents' house and I got money. Now if you look at the first part, I have included jedes Mal, means every time. Now every time, that means this is repeated or recursive event, right? Like whenever I went to my grandparents' house, I got money. So that means I cannot fill here als, I have to fill here when. But in the second sentence, I have replaced jedes Mal with das erste Mal, the first time. Now this is only one time event that occurred in the past. When I went to my grandparents' house for the first time, I got money. So here we cannot fill when, we have to fill als. So that's how you can differentiate between when and als. So if you have understood this, there is one practice exercise that you have to solve, als or when. So you can pause this video and we can discuss the solution after 5 seconds. Just to summarize, als is used for one-time event, plus it is used for past tense. That means if you see present tense or future tense, you can just close your eyes and fill when. So let's discuss eins. Rufst du mich an, Luca du wieder zurück bist. Now here we have present tense, bist. So that means we will go ahead with when. Will you call me when you're back again? 2. Ich war unter der Dusche, I was under the shower. Luca du angerufen hast. So we'll go ahead with als. So one time event, when you called me, I was under the shower. And obviously it's not like whenever you called me, I was under the shower. It doesn't make sense. So we will go with als. 3. Es regnet. It rains. Present tense. We will go ahead with when. Wenn es regnet, when it rains, bleiben wir zu Hause. We stay at home. So it's like repeated or recursive thing. Whenever it rains, we stay at home, we never go outside. Fear. Es gestern regnete, hatte ich keinen Schirm dabei. Now this could be like a one time event in the past. Let's go ahead and fill als. Now the meaning. When it rained yesterday, I did not have an umbrella with me. Schirm. By Schirm they mean Regenschirm, umbrella. So obviously we cannot fill when here because it would sound like whenever it rained yesterday, I never had umbrella with me. It doesn't make sense. So just by looking at this gestern thing, this is the signal. We can go ahead and fill als. 5. Morgen schon ist, gehen wir in den Park. So it seems we have present tense here. So let's go ahead and fill when. So when it is pleasant or nice tomorrow, we will go in the park. Basically they're saying if the weather is nice tomorrow, we'll go in the park. Nummer 6. Warum antwortest du nie? Lücke ich dich etwas frage. So we have ich frage, I ask, present tense. Then here also antwortest du. So why do you never answer when I ask something? So that means we'll go ahead with when. And this is like recursive, repeated thing. Whenever I ask you something, you never answer. Lücke ich noch ein Kind war. So when I was a child, one time event in the past, I can never go back to my childhood days. So let's go ahead and fill als here. We often went to the zoo when I was a child. So just focus on this part because als is being used with this part and this is one time event in the past. Now act. Lücke wir in Wien waren, besuchten wir den Prater. So nothing is telling us this is repeated or recursive event. So we will fill here als. When I was in Vienna, we visited Prater. This is a tourist attraction in Vienna. 9. Lücke du Zeit hast, kannst du heute zu mir kommen. Now this is present tense. When you have time, you can come to me today. Or whenever you have time, you can come to me today. So we will go with when. 10. Kann seine Freundin mitbringen. There is a typing mistake here. Freundin. So he can bring along his girlfriend. Lücke möchte. This is present tense. So we will fill when. When he would like. He can bring along his girlfriend. So if you're attaching als with a sentence, just make sure that this sentence is something that occurred only once in the past. Now let's also play with few sentences. Let's take act, where we filled als. When we were in Vienna, we visited Prater, this tourist attraction. Now if I want to use when here, what I have to do is I have to remove als and fill here immer wenn. But the meaning will change entirely. Now immer when we are in Wien waren, that means whenever we were in Vienna, besuchten wir den Prater. We visited the Prater. Now the meaning will change. This is like repeated or recursive sort of thing. Whenever we were in Vienna, we visited this tourist attraction. But it's not like you can use immer when always. For example, if you take Nummer 7 and if you try to fill immer when, now it will not make any sense because you cannot say whenever I was a child. No, this is one time event. It has done. You cannot go back to your childhood days. Now you cannot fill here immer when instead of als. And that's a wrap on als versus when. And if you have understood it, then you have to give me one sentence using als and using wenn. Don't forget to subscribe to Deutschflix. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.
Like and subscribe.